Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Let There Be Talk. Today is Monday, October 23rd. It's actually Monday evening because I just woke up. Yeah, just woke up. That's why the episode's late. Had like a 5 a.m. flight this morning from Austin. I had to be up at 5. The flight was like at 6:55 or something, but I was going to fly home last night. And, just first of all, I'm jumping way ahead, but I had one of the most incredible weekends. And I say that a lot on here. I always think like, this was the all-time greatest weekend. And then I kind of sit back and think, wow, man, it's been pretty damn good. It's hard work and it's a grind, but as I look at what's going on right now, as far as me out there doing comedy, I couldn't be happier doing stand-up every night and going out with some of my favorite comedians on the planet. And this weekend, I was in Austin, Texas. There's all kinds of bucket list shit going down from the weekend. I worked with Bill Burr, and every time I work with Bill Burr, I just sit back. And it's like watching AC/DC. If I could watch AC/DC every night back when I played music, I would probably be a way better musician. And that's what it's like to open for Bill. You get to see him for hours at a time and how he changes things up and how he responds to heckles and different rooms and different lighting and different sound systems and different orders of the bits. Never does like the same order or anything. And right now, man, he's got it was funny. He got off stage. He goes, shit, man, I think I got like 2 hours of stuff, too much material. It was hilarious to hear somebody say I got too much material. I love that, man. I want to get to that level, and that's what's great about working with Bill. Not only to be inspired and learn, but also to get to hang out with a friend of mine who's crazy fucking busy these days with his TV show and his new baby and, of course, his wife and his career and everything. You don't get to hang out with your friends as much as you like in this biz because everybody gets busy and it gets crazy. So to go on the road with him is always just incredible, and I never take that lightly. I don't dick off at all. I just sit back and learn, which was and like I said, bucket list stuff this weekend. Got to do Austin City Limits, that famous venue where they shoot the Austin City Limits on PBS. It's been going since 1974. I can't even believe it. The longest running music show. The pilot was with Willie Nelson back in 1974, and I got to tell you, I could feel Willie all over that city. Willie Nelson. If you haven't heard this Willie Nelson and Sons, this new record, go on YouTube and look at the clips of him and his sons playing. It is just incredible. Anyway, I got to do that room. 3 incredible sold out shows, and it's Bill and I were saying it's got to be the best sounding small theater, semi kind of a little arena venue we've ever been in. It's strange when you do comedy in a bigger venue. I do it when I go out with like Burr or Russell Peters or Mark Maron. I'll do these big venues. And you'll go, whoa, these are different animals. I remember specifically early on when I was going to open a huge arena with Russell. I remember talking to Mark Maron about it. And he goes, man, you got this. Just remember one thing. And he stopped me in the parking lot at the store and he said, go slow. Go slow. And I didn't understand that. And he said, when you think the laughs are over, they're still going. It takes a minute for the whole room to laugh together in a bigger room. And I was so glad he gave me that tip because that is the number one thing that I that I think about when I'm on stage. And when you're going slow, you're in it too. You're living it. You're not steamrolling over everything. You're in it. You're living it. Anything can happen. A lot of times you'll speed up because you're afraid of a little silence and somebody might say, "You suck." But I enjoy sitting in it now. Looking around. I'll even sit there and look at the people for a few minutes. All uncomfortable and weird. Like, what is this, man? I don't care how many times you do it. It just seems weird. A stranger is on stage and I'm there to make you guys laugh as the opener. You know what I mean? The opener is usually a stranger. The headliner, if your headliner's doing arenas, maybe if small pockets here and there might know you, but not that whole place. If they did, you would be selling it out. Anyway, got to do that place, and it sounded amazing. Like I said, most big rooms, they're too tall, so the laughs just kind of wash up. You don't hear them. Or the laughs go straight into the stage because you're up higher. Or it's echoey. Or the sound system is not equipped right for, it's focused for music or whatever. It's just all different things can come into the game when you're doing a monster room. And this thing stepped on it. And you don't know because you're not like sound checking like a band for an hour. Like, all right, let's go and sound check. It's stone cold. Walk on and go, oh, this is what it is. And you start to adjust. But this room was fantastic. All the people that worked there were amazing. They were all crazy friendly. And all the fans were great. I went out in the crowd after each show and tried to meet a bunch of people. Everything about it was just a 10. So thank you, Austin. Great weekend. And after Saturday night, we went and saw Jimmy Vaughn at Seaboys up there on, South Congress Street. Seaboys, amazing bar. Just looks like something out of Roadhouse. And Jimmy Vaughn just tearing it up with the Oregon 3-piece. The guy on B3. I want to get this guy's name real quick because, wow, was he's smoking. B3 players, of course, if you've heard me over the years, I think that all bands that I really love, they seem to have an incredible B3 player. Like the Black Crowes, once they got Ed Harsh in, the band changed, all the band, Allman Brothers, man. I mean, the whole soul of that to me is Greg Allman playing that B3. I'm looking up this Jimmy Vaughn record while I'm doing this, so I'm kind of fucking in. Which, by the way, Bill and I were at this show, and it was Jimmy Vaughn's record release party for this. Let me find this out. This stupid fucking iTunes, man. Here we go. Boom. Found it. Jimmy Vaughn. It's called Live at Seaboys. Featuring, this is the B3 player's name, Mike Flanagan. And the drummer, Frosty Smith, which I guess has passed away in the last, I don't know, maybe 6 months or something. But this is an Oregon trio, Jimmy Vaughn trio, and the guy on Oregon, Mike Flanagan. Not only is his organ playing amazing, his tone was amazing. A lot of times B3 can be high, piercing, ice picky, just tearing your ears up when they go into that. That doesn't sound like a B3. I don't know what the fuck. That kind of shit. That could just soar your fucking head off. His tone was incredible, and his vibe was great, and he sang like a motherfucker too. This guy could sing great. Jimmy Vaughn and Mike Flanagan would, they would take turns singing, and Jimmy Vaughn did the incredible Texas Flood. The Stevie Ray song, and we met him, and he was so fucking cool, man. So cool to meet Jimmy Vaughn. So we did that, and then we went to F1 which I've never been to an F1 race or open wheel race, and it blew my mind. Talk about an adrenaline. Man, we were right on these perfect section of the track where it was like an S turn, and we were seeing some serious racing going on, man. It was so rad. And then it couldn't get any better. This is why I'm late with the podcast. We decided to change our flights and see Primus. And I've said this over and over, over the years, and recently in the last couple of years, I've been saying it when I see Primus. I just saw him at Columbus, Ohio, with Metallica when I did that show Rock on the Range with Jim I said it then. I said it last year when I went and saw Primus with Tool, Rory Scovel and I said it. And then I thought back to the other times I'd seen Primus, which is many times. One of the great ones was me and my boy Fletch drove to Fresno to see Public Enemy, Anthrax, Primus. And, every time I see this band, I just go, wow. Wow, man, it's so outside the box. If you look at the Bay Area, and I got to meet the band again. I had met the guys years ago, and they didn't really remember me. But, of course, being in the Bay Area, we started talking, and Larry was like, oh, yeah, I listen to your podcast. And Tim was like, oh, yeah, man, Cobwebs, it's 30 years. I get it. But as we started rapping a little bit, we were laughing about the old San Francisco days. But if you look at these bands that came out of the Bay Area we're talking about, there's like 4, like Grateful Dead, Primus, Metallica, and Faith No More. And the reason I mention them is if you look at those bands, they're all so outside the box. None of them were set up for we're going to be famous. We're going to be huge rock stars. It was never about that. It was just about dudes playing music and the love of the art of it, man, or just getting something out or going down and putting on the fucking guitar, bass, and drums and stuff and going for it and just getting shit out of your head. If you look at those 4 bands, they're still around right now and they're still playing, which is incredible. Incredible, man, because of how different they are. And they still, all of them push the limit, man, they push it. They don't just go out there and do the greatest hits tours. None of these 4 bands. They go out there and they work and they just, man, it's just so good. And what really gets me off is there's people at the shows, because that means that people still care. Like, I want to go see something different than what the fuck's on the radio or what the hell's on TV or anything. I want to get out of the house and I want to take a journey. And this Primus tour, I'm going to tell you, if you catch them right now while they're out headlining, you got to see this. It's 2 sets, and the first set's like the retrospective throughout the records, which man, the song selection was incredible. And then they take a short break and they come back and they do the new record with this incredible psychedelic show with all these great video footage behind them, these weird little forest movies of animals and stuff. It's just, man, it's just inspiring. I look at that stuff and it makes me think even more about my comedy. Like, God, I want to get a little more adventurous. I want to tell some more stories. I want to get loony out there, And I can't tell you right now, I cannot tell you how fucking cool Les, Tim, and Larry were, man. Bill and I, we hung out with them. They were the nicest dudes ever. It was just phenomenal, and I'm hoping to get those guys on the podcast. I really do. And if I don't, doesn't matter. I'll never forget that night, last night. Go get their new record right away. I got it on vinyl. I just posted it up on my Instagram. Get their new record and follow them on Twitter and Instagrams. so you can go see them when they come to town. I don't want to hear anybody going, oh, when are they coming? Oh, I missed them. Go see them. Okay. Speaking of go see them, another comedian on my show. Once in a while, I like to have comedians on. And I think it's great to promote people that I think are incredibly super cool, super funny, and just great humans. You know, like I love to have musicians on. I love to have people that make stuff handmade. But I'm in a business every day of my life with comedians, and I hang out with guys all the time. And once in a while, I'll be like, I got to have this guy on. I love his story, and I love what he's about. And that's who my guest is today, Mr. Aaron Berg. He's a New York comedian from Canada originally. And his story is amazing. This guy has lived a bunch of different lives. He's a lot like me. He's an older guy. I forget how old he is, but he's not some kid in the game, but he crushes it. He goes on every night at the Stand. He's got multiple records out on iTunes, including a brand new one that came out a little while ago when I recorded this. And I was going to put it on sooner, but I wanted to wait till it got up on iTunes. We talk all about that. It's called Mr. Manners, live from Long Island City. And it's only $5.99, guys. Go buy it. It came out August 25th, but so it's brand new, you know. He also has a couple books out, which we talk about. This guy works his ass off. He holds the world record for the most spots done in a night, 25. Which is insane, and he talks about that. 25 spots. I thought I was a badass with 7 in L.A. I was like, which is really hard, 7 in L.A., by the way, because of traffic and you know, and all that, and getting stage time in L.A. So to do 7, I at least count that as 15 New York spots. That's me tooting my own horn. Who else gonna do it? Anyway, Aaron Berg, I want you to follow him. Great guy, and I can't wait to see him in New York. I will be back in New York November 13th through November 26th. You can catch me at the Stand every night, and I'm sure Aaron will be on a lot of those shows together with me, and come see us together. It's always fun. I'll also be in Iowa November 2nd with Bill Burr at the Surf Ballroom. That's the last spot Buddy Holly, Big Bopper, and Richie Valens ever played, and they died on my birthday. That is spooky and weird. I got to get the fuck home. I got to make it home from that gig. New York, like I said, I'll be out there. And then December, I think 8, 9, and 10, Sacramento with Joey Diaz. Some fun stuff coming up. I love all you guys. I wanted to tell you one last thing. I ate the fuck out of barbecue this weekend in Austin. I ate barbecue. I'm Degan. That's meat once in a while in great cities with barbecue. That's a Degan diet. And I got to fucking cool out now, man. I ate barbecue the whole fucking time. Okay. Episode's brought to you by my fantastic guitar sponsor, Earthquaker Devices. You play music, you play guitar, bass, keyboards, you sing, anything. You want some kind of effects, you want to sound cool, you want a stomp box, you want to be a guitar god, go to Earthquaker Devices. They make the finest handmade boutique pedals in America, made in America, right in Akron, Ohio. Earthquaker Devices has all kinds of stomp boxes, every sound you're looking for. And speaking of that, I want to say Larry's pedal board from Primus. Wow, man, this guy had amazing pedals. We got to get him some Earthquaker stuff in there. EarthquakerDevices.com. Follow him on Instagram. Follow him on Twitter. Tell him I told you about him. Get yourself some pedals. Watch their demonstrations on Instagram. They crush it. Earthquaker Devices. Also, my other sponsor, 2 years straight now, the incredible El Cajon Harley, which my boy Greg Riley and I are about to head to Arizona this weekend for the All Things Comedy Tour, which is, it's not a tour, it's an All Things Comedy Podcast Festival. If you're living in Phoenix, You got to go to this. I'll be doing a live Let There Be Talk. I don't know who my guest is going to be, trying to figure that out. And I'll be doing stand-up. But everyone on the network's going to be there. Everyone. That's this weekend. Thursday and Friday, I'll be there. And Greg Riley's going with me. And we're going to go out and ride these new damn Harleys finally. I'm finally going to get on one of these new 2018s. You can do yourself the same by going to El Cajon Harley and asking to test ride, or maybe just go in and fucking say fuck it and buy a damn motorcycle. Don't listen to anyone. Don't listen to your girl or your mom or your dad or your brother or your conscience. Just go in and get a bike. Just do it. Get on two wheels, man. What are you doing not riding? It's 103 degrees here in LA today on October 23rd. What the fuck? There's no winter here. Get on two wheels. Burn rubber. Ride all year around. Save on gas. Save on time. And be dangerous. Be dangerous. You want to live dangerous? I'm so out of it. I'm like upside down. I slept a little bit, and then I woke up, and then I slept a little bit. Oh, I'm all fucking cuckoo. Anyway, El Cajon Harley. Love them. My sponsor. All right, guys, we're going to get into it. One last thing before I go. Shout out to the donations on Patreon. I'm so fucked up here. Patreon. Scott Zumsteg. Thank you, Zumsteg. Crazy name. I like it. Scott SZ. What's up, SZ? Scott Zumstead pledged a little donation on patreon.com/Dean Del Rey. Greg just upped his donation. Thank you, buddy. And Olivia Berkman. Thank you, Olivia. One of the 5 women that probably listen to this podcast. I know this podcast is it's the heavy metal concert of podcasts, just all sword out there. Olivia Berkman, thank you so much. I love you guys. Thanks for listening to the intro, and thanks for all your support. Keep the candles lit. Mr. Aaron Berg. Oh, yeah, Aaron Berg. How are you, buddy?
Good, Dean. What's up?
Oh, man. Thanks for doing the podcast. I got to tell you, before we go and get into the show, this is my second year in New York, and I think that you're probably my favorite person I've met here. Like,
really?
You're like the fucking nicest guy 16 years in, man. It's so wild. You know? You're from Toronto, right?
Toronto, originally.
You start comedy up there?
Yeah, did it. Sucked for years. And then, after 6 or 7, you get good. And then slugged it out for like 10 years up there. But because I was like a bluer guy, there was a lot of places that I had issues with where they're like, you're too dirty. Yuck Yucks up there was always great to me, where they let me do whatever I wanted. But it just seemed like I hit a ceiling. Like I could supplement my stand-up work with, acting work, movies and TV and stuff, but it wasn't what I really wanted to do, and I didn't feel creative. So I knew New York was the place I had to be.
Was it hard to move here? Because that was, how long you been here? Because Ari, I had Ari on, and he gave me the whole rundown of how to move here with the brokers and the money, what it cost and everything. It's crazy.
It cost me tens of thousands of dollars to move here because I had to get immigration papers, and that took 3 years just to get a visa. And then you can move here on a visa, you can do stand-up, but you can't get TV work. So like Law & Order tried to get me for an episode. After I auditioned, they're like, "Oh, you don't have a green card, you can't do it." So,
what's
an O1 visa is what Canadian comics have to get, and it's like an extraordinary talent visa, quote unquote, because I was so good at penis jokes. So they gave me that, and then I had to get 2 of those, and then I got a green card. Green card was $8,000. Those 2 visas came out to like 12, so that's $20,000 in paperwork, and then the trips you would make to get here to meet people and to like I knew nobody when I started coming down.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Lewis was one of the first guys I met, and Lewis used to produce shows, so he started putting me up on some shows, and And then you get into one or two clubs. I got passed at a bunch of clubs right away, but then a couple clubs didn't want me, so I moved down. Then you're like, and paying tons of money for rent and a move. I left my fiance. I was engaged at the time. I left it all.
Gave it all to do. Now, were you a male stripper?
Mm-hmm.
Is that how you were getting all your money?
No, that's years and years ago. That was before. That was like in my 20s. I'm going to be 45 this year.
Wow.
But, it was before that. But I thought about going back to it like 2 years ago. Once I got sober and I got back in shape, I was like, maybe I could go supplement my income. And then I walked by one place and I just had flashes of how disgusting it was like back in the end. The people you work with are just fucking animals. Just animals.
Wow.
They'll rob you. They, like real criminals.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, was it women coming or gay dudes?
Well, when I stripped, you'd work the weeknights and Friday, Saturday was all women. And when I started, there was a club where you only dance for women. It was in Brampton, but the money wasn't as good. So there was this club downtown Toronto where the money was great. It was like the closest they had to Chippendales in Canada. So I got in there, and there was like an amateur night, and then once I started working, and then you work on a Friday and Saturday, and like if you want to work the Friday, Saturday, you got to work the Sunday, and the Sunday was for gay men.
Wow.
Yeah. So
wow.
It was good.
Now, it's funny because I have I DJ'd a few like bachelorette parties. I used to, DJ, and they would have these male strippers show up, and they were always such like weird dudes.
Yeah.
And I remember one time this chick pulled this guy's Speedo down. He was furious, and he had a rubber band around his package.
Yeah.
No cock ring, a rubber band.
Yeah.
What was that about?
That's what I used to use.
You flub it up?
That's called tying off. You get hard, and then when you're hard, and by the way, real pros, it's not easy to, you just sitting next to a dude, you start jacking off.
Yeah.
How was your day? You'd pay for the truck yet? Like that kind of thing. And we would smoke a joint back and forth.
Wow.
So you'd be passing it while you're beating your, it's so horrible. You would use the other hand. So then you jack off.
For the joint.
Jack off with lotion, then you tie an elastic around the base of your cock and balls to keep the...
Like a poor man's cock ring.
Yeah, but it works better than cock rings.
Oh, I got
Elastics work better, but some pretty serious damage on the, a few years later.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my dick doesn't work nearly as well as it used to.
Wow, that's fucking crazy. And so that way you would have kind of, why not just stuff your package? You know what I mean?
Because you go naked. You want to show cock.
You go naked.
I went naked. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's how you make the real dough. And then I went to a club in Niagara Falls and stripped called Peppermints where they didn't go naked. They're like, you can go naked if you want. I was like, fuck yeah, I'm going to go naked. I went naked and made more money, and then I walk out, my tail lights are busted like the other guys.
They were pissed.
Yeah, the other guys were pissed.
Whoa, fucking this guy coming in going
showing
naked.
His cock all over. Yeah.
Wow. Now, when you're showing your cock, isn't the rubber band on there?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But they can't really see it.
Yeah.
I mean, they kind of... Look, as we're doing this, I got a FaceTime from my mom. It's hilarious.
Did your mom know you were a stripper?
My mom came and watched me one night. It was horrific. I didn't know she was there. She showed up with my aunt. And I told them, I was like, yeah, I'm doing this, but I don't get naked or anything. They showed up, and of course, she saw me get fully naked. They were like in the back. I had no idea they were there. The next night, she told me, we came to watch your show. You're very talented. The girls seem like they like you, and you're having fun up there.
Yeah.
Very positive.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long did you do that for?
Year and a half.
And then what gets you out? You're just like, fuck these people?
Well, I talked about it extensively on Ari's podcast, but I basically kind of ended up living off the avails. I just left, and I was like, I'm out. I got rid of my beeper.
Yeah,
threw my beeper out.
Threw my beeper out. And, that's how old we are. Yeah, people are like, beeper? Yeah. What is it? What's a beeper?
That was the only way, remember?
Yeah.
You use beepers and payphone. You never give your home phone number out.
Fuck no.
Page me. And then I went back to university, which Americans call college, and I finished my degree in philosophy. And then from there, I got into like personal training and stuff like that, and that kind of.
Yeah, because you were bodybuilding too.
Yeah.
I saw some photos.
Yeah, I was bodybuilding when I was stripping. I got better as a bodybuilder once I stopped stripping.
Now, how do you get into comedy? And who are your guys back then? Because you're what, 45? You're going to be 45, so you're right around the Eddie Murphy, but you miss Kinnison and Dice, right?
Well, I mean, my initial influences were Pryor. Like I went to the original greats, so had to learn about Pryor and Bruce and Kinnison and watch that stuff. But I mean, what I watched when I was younger was Dice and Pryor, but you knew that there was predecessors to that. So, it was like, I was a huge Kinnison fan and huge Pryor fan. Those were my guys. It was like anything that fell short of that was garbage. So that's, I mean, I didn't try to start working like that. I just tried to start by being funny, but it was horrible hack shit, like songs. I would try and sing even though I couldn't sing. And then I wouldn't get up there and be like belt out of tune, but I'd be like, wouldn't it be wacky if George Michael released a song that was more accurate? Like, I'm whacking off before I go. Don't leave me hanging in the bathhouse, yo. And it would get laughs, but you know how hokey it is.
Yeah.
So it was like, did that. And then I started telling the stories from when I was a stripper, and that, it took a while, but once that got good, I was like, okay, I've got something good stand-up wise now. So that was that gave me the formula of how to work. I mean, I don't really do it anymore.
Yeah, you don't do that style anymore.
No.
Is that because of moving to New York? Because I noticed when I get to New York, recently I got a new bit about selling stuff on Craigslist, and I do it at the stand.
Yeah.
But I can feel the tense of like, get to the jokes quicker.
Yeah.
Get to the jokes quicker.
There's something about it where the challenge, and I mean, there's some guys that stay pure with it. Ari stays pure with it.
Yeah.
I like killing. Like, I like crushing, and I'm still addicted to it. And I like the rhythms that come out of working a crowd like that. You know, like the big laughs and the applause and the groan. Like, I like that part of the dialogue. It's very jazz-like for me, so I like conducting it like that. And I feel like if you want to work on something in New York, you have to say, okay, I'm willing to take less laughs on this to make it good.
Right.
You have to do that. So it's like...
That's where I'm at right now, because I'm like, fuck, man, there's some flat spots. But in L.A., it's a different style. It's a kind of storytelling, and you know what I mean? And so I get here, and I'm like, so I think what it does to me here is I figure out how to do both in the story. Some jokes... boom, 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 but you're following me on the story, you know?
Yeah. I mean, when I was a storyteller, that's what I had to do, too, was put more jokes. It'd be great if it was more accepted that you could do, like, almost a solo show format, which is where stand-up was going for a while, and people still do it in Edinburgh, where instead of just doing an hour of stand-up, there was an hour of storytelling with a through line, you know? Jeffries was good at it for a while. I don't know if he still is, but...
Right. Al Madger was killer at it.
Yeah.
He'd go on Conan and do a 5-minute bit that's only about, picking up a day laborer.
Yeah.
And it crushes all the way through.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
And I asked them how they do that, and what they do is they tell the story and they see where the laughs are, and then they punch it up. The rest of it.
Yeah.
You have little, like, if you look at Louis C.K., which is interesting because Louis C.K. is a New York comic. Well, he's from Boston, but, he's a New York comic, and his is stories.
Yeah.
So when I got here, I thought it was going to be like that,
Look, I think that, but it's also different. I think that the club scene's different from the TV scene. So it's like, if a booker from a TV show comes and sees me and they're like, you're killing, it's great, but it won't work on our show. So give us something that'll work on our show. And then when I give them something that'll work on the show, they're like, yeah, it's not as funny as what you did. And I'm like, because that's what I do. So it's like, I like to say this, like, bombing is the new killing. You watch a lot of guys that are getting TV spots now, they're not killing. And a lot of guys are, there's those old tricks, like a lot of guys are smiling very heavily through the televised sets, like, hey, come on, I'm friendly. So it's not, to see, good stand-up all the time, it doesn't happen that often to see it on a consistent basis. I think in New York, these crowds, and I think because there's so many really heavy hitters here, I think that sets the bar for that. But there's shows that you can go and really work those stories. Like Ari's show was great, and I'm sure that it'll be back in another form, and I think there's a show called Risk. Like, there's a whole bunch of places where you can do that storytelling stuff.
At what point do you kind of switch to what you're doing now? Because now you host a lot of shows, and it's a lot of crowd work, and you know, I'm starting to do crowd work because it was funny. I had Dan Soder on. Dan Sauter, that's what he says. The morning radio people call him. Hey, we got Dan Sauter here.
Dan Sauter.
But I had Dan on, and he said an interesting thing that his buddy told him. He said, you know, Dan can do amazing voices, and he doesn't do it in his set. And the guy was like, that's stupid. It's like you have the ability to dunk, but you don't dunk. And when I started, I was so worried about crowd work, people thinking it was hacky, you know, oh, this crowd work guy, that I just completely pushed it down.
Yeah.
You know, now I do it. And sometimes I remember a comic told me, he goes, man, that's risky. Your crowd work gets way bigger pops than your material.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden people go, oh, he's not funny now. So what do you think? Did you consciously say, I enjoy doing crowd work and stuff? Because I like it because to me it's so organic.
Yeah, that's what I think too. I mean, I was doing the same act for like 7 years. I had an act that I was like, okay, I'm going to get this on HBO and that's going to break me out because it was all the stripper stuff. It was so punchy. It was it was an hour killer, really dark, really funny, visceral, you know, it was like cutting a vein open. It was being very honest. And when that didn't take off and I just kept doing it over and over, I was like, you know what? Fuck the act. I'm done with the act. So I was like, I'm going to go up and build stuff. So now, I mean, I build material from the crowd work, but the crowd work is still, it feels like the purest for me. I know it's not the best stand-up. I know that. But I also know that I'm not the best stand-up. And for years, I was like, oh, I want to be one of those guys. I want to be mentioned in the breath along with Burr and along with whoever else is up there now. Yeah. And but I mean, Attell does a shit ton of crowd work, too. Attell's a great writer, but he mixes it in with crowd work, so you can't even tell what's written and what's fucking jokes anymore. Right. So I was after that where I'm like, okay, you know what? Maybe I'm not that guy. Maybe I'm not going to be, you got to see Aaron Berg for biting political satire. So then I'm like, maybe stand-up should just be fucking fun. And if I'm enjoying it and they're enjoying it, I don't think there's wrong. And I think it's almost hacky to say hacky anymore. I think when
I say that too. These hack police, most of them don't even do spots. Yeah. It's hilarious. They're in the hallway like, you know, they're totally angry people. And they're like, oh, this fucking guy's so hacky. Meanwhile, they didn't do a spot for a week.
Yeah, I know. And then you watch them get up and you're like, come on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that shouldn't fucking open their mouths about comedy. Yeah. With the exception of maybe 10 or 20 guys, a lot of people should shut the fuck up. There's a lot of guys that talk shit about comedy. I just saw you dancing around doing a song up there for 3 minutes. Don't come at me like you're the next Chappelle. You know what I mean? These motherfuckers. No, I don't forget, I have eyes and ears. I just saw what you did. That doesn't eviscerate itself. So it's like, people shouldn't. It's supposed to be a fun fucking thing. And when you accept that, when you stop beating yourself up and beating audiences up, like once you start to enjoy it more, you know, you don't blame crowds anymore. You're like, I didn't hit with everything I could, but I gave them what I had, and they got, you know. So I don't blame audiences anymore. If I don't smash or I don't hit as hard as I wanted, then it's on me. Then it's like I wasn't present enough, or there wasn't something, you know. So that's how I get better. And I don't think it's a beat yourself up thing anymore. But I mean, maybe that's also why I'm not one of the top guys in the world. I don't know if Burr goes home every night and he's like, fuck, this fucking bit didn't work because fucking. And I've been there. There was guys I remember getting buried after. I'd stay up drinking all night and figure out how to get better. And it's like, I don't know. I don't feel that angst about it. I'm not angsty about stand-up anymore. It's a joyful thing for me. Like, that's the happiest part of my day when I do stand-up.
Oh, God. It's the only reason I'm walking around. Mm-hmm. You know, look at I come to New York, spend all my money just so I can fucking get better, you know? And it's, I think it's so great to see all the different, different styles, and the animal of comedy to me is so fascinating, you know? Like I was killing 2 years ago, like absolutely murdering for 5 years in.
Yeah.
But then I lost weight and I realized, I was a fat comic.
Yeah.
That's what was going on. They were laughing at the movements and the character and the voice and the jokes. Mm-hmm. Now it's just the jokes. And if they're not fucking as good, it's going to be a lot of medium going on. You know?
Yeah.
It's crazy. Now, you're doing comedy now like 16 years, and is this your first record coming out?
Third. Yeah, third.
So you got 2 other records before this, and no specials or nothing, right?
No, I haven't done a special.
Now, are the records crowd work?
The first one was material and crowd work. Second one was all crowd work. The one that just came out is basically the first. Yeah, everyone has a gimmick. Is basically the first time a stand-up has done an audiobook in front of a live audience. So what I did was take my first book called Mr. Manners. I have 2 books out. One's Mr. Manners, Proper Etiquette for the Modern Degenerate. The other one's American Etiquette, Failing Upwardly in a Fox News Nation. First one is horribly filthy. Second one was clean and political. First one way outsells the second one. The second one's horrible.
They're books, huh?
Yeah, they're books.
So you actually write books.
Yeah, so I took the first book, and I was like, I always wanted to put that material on stage, but I'm like, I can't memorize like 30 chapters of stuff and do. So I was like, we're gonna record it. We'll do a reading. And the day I got there, I was like, oh, this is gonna bomb so bad. I'm like, I told the guy, I'm like, we may just throw this out, and I may have to do a brand new crowd work album.
Right.
Like while we're there, he flew in from Toronto to record it. And he's like, no, it'll be great. I'm like, I don't think this is going to work. And I went up and I'm like, here's what's happening. I'm doing this reading and let's see how it goes. I had 2 shows, 75 minutes each, both killed, and made an album out of it. So it's, and that's written and really well written. But it's like, my hardest thing is memorizing. Like I can write these big ranty things or these cool stories.
Yeah.
But memorizing that, like my hot chocolate story that I did on Comedy Central, was like an 18-minute story. I remember just breaking down in tears trying to memorize that story word for word, just being like, this is so hard. That's the hardest part for me. I can write well, but it's to memorize it and to go on stage with it.
I think the hardest part for me is I tell the story so organic the first time, and it crushes. Like if we're at a party, and they're like, "Dude, tell that story about that time you called Corey Feldman," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, man," and I tell, and then they go, "Hey, tell that one again the next night," and it's not as funny because it's funnier to them or whatever. You know what I mean? To me, it's like, oh, that was just a day that happened. It was crazy funny, but I can't build up the anticipation that they do. Like when they go, this guy's got the fucking funniest stories.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh man, you know, stories are really interesting. Now, when you recorded that thing, you did it at what? The
standing room.
The standing room.
Which is a small room, but
holds like 25.
I think it was like 34 we had for each show. Yeah. So it was like 2 shows and both like I think first one was sold out, second was closed. It sold out, 34 people. Anyways, it was busy enough and the acoustics worked well enough that it sounded great. And
what's it about?
Mr. Manners is how to be a gentleman while doing horrific shit. Doing cocaine with movie stars. So it's all based on true stories.
All true stories?
Yeah, all true stories, but then like made as like I'm this complete gentleman and I'm explaining to you how to do it. Like how to have a threesome, and it's like all these different ways, and if you and your friend are going to attempt double penetration, you have to have strong legs, otherwise yours may buckle and your balls could hit his balls and push his balls into his stomach. It's real.
Now you sat down and wrote this? Like,
yeah.
Wow, how long did it take you to write it?
A few months, and then I had a process because I did those books back to back, like year to year, so I had a process. I'd basically write it over the whole summer, and then we'd send it to an editor, and they'd edit it, and then we'd get it all together. So it would take like 7 or 8 months for a book. And you do it every day. You bang it out. You bang a chapter out, 3 pages a day, 3-page chapters, and I'd bang them out for maybe 120 days, get 120 chapters, get rid of all the fat, and then go with the best ones, and then send them off, get them edited. You pay an editor, and then that was it.
Wow, man. That's pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. 3 books.
2 books.
Oh, 2.
Yeah.
And
2
then
books, 3 albums.
3 albums, yeah. Wow. Now, you released this record on Friday, and it's banned from iTunes right now. Is it banned permanently, or?
I'm guessing they're trying to get it back on. What happened was he's like, okay, at 12 we'll start doing promo. So I'm like, okay, so I'm waiting around. He's like, yeah, there's a problem with iTunes. It still hasn't released it yet. Can we hold off? So I kept waiting. I booked, the whole day off to promo the album because you want to open well.
Absolutely.
So I'm waiting around. I'm like, dude, it's 4:00. What's going on? He's like, the problem is they won't print one of the titles because one of the titles is Proper Etiquette to Having Sex with a Black Girl Fag Hag. So the problem that they had was with the word fag, and it wasn't even the word fag. It was F*G.
Right.
And they're like, we're not going to put this up. So I go, all right, well, fuck iTunes. Let's go. Who else is carrying it? He goes, Amazon and Google Play. And I'm like, all right. So I mentioned it to some of my friends. Some of my friends tweeted out. We start selling albums, and then later on, they're like, it's still not up. And I was like, fuck iTunes, man. So I mentioned we're banned on iTunes. The next morning, I think we mentioned we were banned on iTunes. But right away, I think because we weren't on iTunes, it drove so much traffic to Amazon because people couldn't get it. So I opened right away Friday at number 1. Wow. Gaffigan's album came out Friday too.
Wow.
So I'm like, oh my, this, and with those things, you're like, oh, it'll last a few minutes and then we'll be bumped down to 42 or something. Because that's what I always see people screenshot. And I'm like, oh, you caught it when it was up for a minute.
Yeah.
And then you're like, we're number 4.
Yeah,
and then
I love the shit.
You're 42.
Fake it till you make it thing.
Yeah.
Proud to have another number 1 comedy album.
So bad.
You forget to put for 7 seconds on Thursday.
I know and there's so many guys that do that. So I didn't want to be that dick. So I didn't say anything until like midnight Friday. I'm like, oh, we're still number 1. So I'm like, hey, we're doing number 1. Thanks for buying it. And then Saturday, I go, we're banned on iTunes. They won't print it. So then we start looking at, and then I realized they have Eddie Murphy. His title's printed as faggot.
Right.
They put 2 asterisks in it. And I'm like, why can Eddie Murphy do it and not me? So we started pushing that, and they're still on it. And then last night, I'm like, holy shit, we're still number 1. This is insane. And I think because it was banned, and I started getting tweets of people being like, fuck iTunes, just bought it on Amazon. Fuck iTunes, just bought it on Google Play. And don't get me wrong, iTunes covers my other 2 albums, which have horrific content in them.
Right.
They're not listening to the content. They're just offended by the buzzwords. And then yesterday, I talked to Artie Lang, and he goes, hey, I'll send a tweet out for you. So I send him the tweet, and he puts a tweet up, and it had a phone number on it. And I go, Artie, there's a phone number on it. You just gave someone's phone number out. And he's like, oh, God, how do I take it down? I don't know how to take it down. I don't know what to do. So Artie Lang freaking out for 7 minutes trying to figure out Twitter. And then, and now it's still number 1, which blew my mind. I can't believe it. And I love Gaffigan. Gaffigan always has 4 albums in the top 10. So, it's not hurting Gaffigan's bottom line. But it's just so nice to be like, oh, shit, I was number 1 for a weekend. So it's a great thing.
That's fucking great, man. It's such a weird thing. Like, wait a minute. You got death metal in iTunes.
Yeah.
Which has massive satanic.
Gangster rap.
Yeah. Some of the biggest gangster raps say all kinds of crazy shit, going all the way back to NWA and No Vaseline by Ice Cube, and if you listen to any of our record, all the old Dice, all the old Kinnison, all that stuff, but then it's like flagged. You know what I mean? It's like, what are you doing? Like, if you were a giant star and they knew they're going to get that money and stuff, they would have just blown right up there.
Yeah.
So where are you at on it now?
I don't know. I talked to him today. He's like, still haven't heard back. So, I mean, that's 2 whole days.
Yeah.
Usually, and I talked to you, you're like, sometimes they take 12 hours.
I've seen that,
to be expected, but 48 hours later when you're like, still haven't released an album.
That's crazy. I know, because I do this podcast. And on Thursdays, I would do these episodes called Bitchin', and it would be just, instead of having a guest, it'd be just stuff about I'm bitching about, or whatever. And I knew that I was so leery of getting my podcast flagged that I did the asterisk. It's just B and then T. You know what I mean?
It's such a sensitive world. I think it's going to be great for stand-ups that don't change what they do. I think the stand-ups that are going to listen to their agents and managers because they're trying to get stuff, and you got to be clean now. You shouldn't say this. I think those guys are kind of going to disappear into the ether. I think that the real stand-ups that hit hard are really going to be able to find a fan base that is not offended and that wants. because counterculture now is going to be that kind of edgy rawness. You know,
Right.
that's going to be counterculture again, which it should be. So I think that we just keep doing the stand-up that we do, it's going to get bigger and bigger because people are going to have to seek it out because everything else is so politically correct.
I believe, I've been saying this too, I believe in the next couple of years that comedy clubs are going to be just like these escapisms from these people like, I got to go where they talk like people, human beings.
Yeah.
Human beings. Now, look, I'm not saying to be racist or homophobic or anti-anything or whatever. What I'm saying is if there's no malicious intent behind it and it's conversation, because the people that point at everyone I always trip on it. Like, are you saying that you're completely clean? Your skeletons there's nothing, your closet's, Right. Everyone has, demons.
Yeah. Most of the congressmen that are against gay marriage are usually getting sucked off by some dude in a bathroom.
It's always that. The ones that raise the biggest hell are the evilest behind the curtain. Yeah.
You're right.
It's wild, man. What do you see here in how long you been in New York?
6.5 years.
6.5 years. And you see comedy getting bigger here, like of course in LA in the last 5 years it's absolutely exploded again.
I mean, I think on the club level it's going to maintain. I think that there's going to be a bust and an echo because Netflix is putting specials out every week. So I think people are going to start to get pickier about what they see, which is probably a good thing. I mean, they're churning out so much, and comedy's such a thing right now that it inevitably has to dip a little bit, you know? It's great that they're paying guys $40 million for a special, but
I love that, yeah.
It's going to come back down.
Yeah, and also I think people are just going to be like, oh, another comedy special?
Yeah.
It's almost special not to have a special.
I see some that aren't special. Like, even a comic that I liked, I saw him, and I'm like, those are styrofoam letters behind you. And I was like, someone just put him on popsicle sticks? Like, his name was spelled out. I was like, oh, God. Not a lot of people need him. They should go back to just giving them to, the top 10, 20 guys, and the rest of the people could be like, hey, here's, keep doing albums until then.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, everybody's such in a hurry and also I think if you're going to do a special, 30 minutes is where it's at,
Yeah.
Because unless you're Chappelle or these guys that have like a solid hour where you go like, that's a craft. And most people are just like, well, I got an hour, and it's like, really? You know what I mean? Because these big guys that have these hours, they work on them for like a year and a half, and you see them and they're primo.
Here's when you should do a special. If what you're saying is hilarious and really reflective of what's going on. If you're taking stuff like Chappelle's new stuff where he's talking about the hot button topics, and Bill does it too, where he's like, here's the thing about trannies, here's the thing about people labeling racism, here's the thing about Nazis. If you're going to do a special like that, do a special. Otherwise, it's like, do a half-hour silly thing. I mean, I like a lot of really silly comics, but I don't think you need a special unless it's special.
Yeah. Who you into these days?
Who do I watch? I mean, it's mostly just guys that I work with every night that I'll be like, oh, that was a funny bit, and that's it. I don't really watch. I mean, I love Ari, and I turned his special on. I'm like, I've seen all these bits at the club. Yeah. So it's like, I don't need to watch it in a different venue. I mean, I'll watch it so his numbers are good, and I'll tweet it out. But, Ari, J, we work with the best comics in the world all the time. So it's Ari, J, Attell. I think Chappelle's, I love what Chappelle's doing now. I mean, I watch his specials. I thought
next level, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's just so, it's what stand-up's supposed to be. I want to see what Jon Stewart's going to come out with. I'll tell you that. I'd like to see his special.
One-man shows are I really like the Neil Brennan 3 mics.
I saw that. I didn't watch the whole thing.
Right.
Neil's a great writer.
I liked it because I liked the second mic, the honesty one, because, man, it was so dark.
Yeah.
That was crazy to me to see something so dark and real, and then a one-liner or whatever,
Yeah, it's a great concept. I like that people do that. That's another reason you should have a special if you're doing something really different.
Yeah.
Remember Stanhope did one with a whole bunch of music behind him? He had a guitarist with him.
Yeah.
Stanhope's old CDs were amazing. Do you remember?
Stanhope's last special, the one in Portland, it's only about 50 people, where he opens up with his mom having cancer.
I didn't see it yet. Was it CISO? Was that the CISO one?
No. It was right before that, I believe. It's like 2 years ago. Let me tell you, one of the best specials I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Because it opens and you're like, whoa. He opens with his mom having cancer and they're going to help her have commit suicide, just like the book, you know? And you're looking at like, where is this going to go? You know what I mean? And it takes something to me to figure, like I'm trying to figure out how you can do really dark material other than having your own audience. Eventually you have your own audience and they go for that ride.
Yeah.
But I like to do dark material in an audience that's not necessarily your own audience. Yeah. Because that is, to me, some old-fashioned button pushing. Mm-hmm. Like, wow, look at these people.
Yeah.
These people are clamming up.
Yeah.
And my only worry is not being able to work. You know?
Yeah, that's something that goes through your head where you're like, you know, you're still trying to get in a whole bunch of places and work and make a living. So it's like, oh, I don't want to fuck this up by turning this crowd. But I almost miss that. I miss pissing people off. And remember, you'd get in arguments of it. Now you get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out. And once in a while I'll go through it now, but it's so rare. But I miss that button pushing. The other night, someone was like, "You're just mean." Last night, she's like, "You're just mean," and I was like, "No, I'm picking on people, but it comes from a good place." And then, sure enough, a minute later, she's laughing, and I'm like, "I gotta go." She's like, "Don't go," and I was like, "You just thought I was a fucking dick a minute ago." So it's amazing how they can come back around. But I miss those. I had one of those at New York, where this girl goes, "You're not funny. We want the next guy to come on," and I go to this guy. I'm like, "You fuck this cunt." And he's like, "What the fuck you say, man? I'm gonna wait for you outside." And I had a jacket and a tank top on. And I dropped my jacket. I go, "Why you want to wait outside? I'm right here, motherfucker."
Whoa, really?
Yeah. And then he goes to reach for a bottle, and I'd seen it having so many. I go, "Don't reach for the bottle. It's gonna be the biggest mistake. Don't do it." And he washed his hand. He's like, "I'm fucking out of here," and he stormed out.
Wow.
Pushed the door, and the door came back and swung and hit his chick in the face. And I'm like, oh, I guess we won. And then I'm like, I don't know if they're going to be waiting outside. But the guy was waiting outside. He was really angry. He was down the street. And I was like, I don't want to get into this thing now. So I just waited for him to leave. That was it. But yeah, he wanted to go.
Wow.
It's good to push those buttons. It makes you feel alive again. And there's no security there that night either. So I was like, oh, I'm in this alone right now.
No security.
Yeah, and they usually have great security over in New York. There's usually like three guys over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your favorite club in New York? The Stand?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you pretty much go on every night. Do you enjoy hosting? Because you're so good at it. I always say there's people that are killer at hosting.
Yeah. I love it. I mean, I'm going to cut back on it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's getting me really funny, and hosting's great to make more money in the city. But yeah, I'm gonna ease off. I'm gonna start doing more sets so that I can just get to doing more sets and try and build some stuff to, you know. When you're doing a set, you got more room to breathe. But hosting is still. I feel like when I moved here, I started over. Even though I had like credits and I'd been doing it 10 years, it felt like, and I never used to host in Canada, so it felt like starting over and rebuilding. But now you're playing, you know, in AAA instead of like single A. And
right.
So it's like to try and get to the majors, you need that experience.
Now, what about Montreal? Have you gone to that at all?
This was my first year. I went there this year, and it was very successful. So we're hoping I go back next year. And
what'd you do up there?
I did Big J. Okerson's crowd work show, and I did a bunch of warm-up for them for the all-access tapings. So,
wow.
Yeah, it was a great experience, and all the shows went great. So I'm really hoping to go back, and I would love to do the Nasty Show. That's the show that I've had my eye on for a while. So hoping to do the Nasty Show and maybe do like a one-man show type thing. I used to do a one-man show that went off Broadway that was all about the stripping stuff. So hoping to do that and then sell a TV show based off of that. That's the goal.
Now, your wife's a comic, too.
Yeah.
And you guys are about to have a baby.
In a week, bro.
In a week,
A week. So we're supposed to go in on the Thursday at 3 in the morning. I've booked the Thursday off, but I have work on the Friday and Saturday.
Oh.
And I'm trying to tell her, I'm like, I'll be there the Thursday, but Friday and Saturday I got to go to work. So we'll see. And I think also, I don't think I want to be, I don't like hospitals, so I don't want to be, and don't get me wrong, I'll be so excited to hold my daughter and see my beautiful wife. But I don't like hanging out in hospitals for a long period. I don't know what it is. I just don't like it. Yeah. I don't like it. It's my biggest, going to the hospital is the worst thing. So, I mean, her mom will be there. My mom will be there. So I think if I'm like, hey, I'm going to go do sets for 3 hours, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's how you guys are going to put food on the table.
Yeah.
Now, she's a comic. How do you think she's going to step out for a while?
No. I mean, my wife I love so much, but she has problems with reality when she's like, okay, so we'll have the baby, and then I'll take her with me to sets. I'm like, you can't haul a baby around to sets. When I said, we have to hire a nanny. I don't want a nanny. I'm like, well, then you're not doing stand-up, so you can stay home with the baby. You want to play this 1950s game? We're going to play this 1950s game. I'm not going to, I'll take the baby with me. I'm like, you're not taking the baby to these dump clubs where you get strep throat from talking into a microphone.
It's all dirty.
It's filthy.
Yeah, on the subway. Pop on the subway with your newborn.
It's horrible. So I'm like, I mean, I think she'll be out for. She just recorded her first album, 9 months pregnant. So she's she's a trooper. She'll keep going. She wants to go. She wants to open for me in Philly on Friday, and I'm like, you're not coming to Philly. And then she's like, well, I'll be with you. I'm like, the doctor's here. You can't drive to Philly. She could burst at any moment. So,
oh, my God. You headlining in Philly?
Doing Philly Comedy Club, but it's a newer club. You should do it next time you come. And then I got something in Connecticut on Saturday, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go. She's like, yeah, and they booked her to open for me. I'm like, she's not going I told them, I'm like, she's not going anywhere. Book her for another date. And then they didn't even take her off the poster. I'm like, you're not fucking listening to me. Dude, I'm telling you, people forget how hard it is to be a man. They're all listening to the women now. That's it. As she said, she wants to go. She's gonna burst with a baby at any time. She can't go. The women, we marched for this. You marched so my wife could make $50 in Philly. Is that what you marched for?
God.
Pays $50, and I got to drive in the car with her. Every bump. Try to rock out and listen to the Zach Brown band. I got to listen to this.
Zach Brown. What kind of music you listen to? Right?
Yeah, I like country nowadays. Country, jazz. I just crushed the hubcap while I was listening to some Zach Brown music.
Zach Brown.
Yeah, and a little AC/DC sometimes. Yeah. Some old school rock. When I'm at the gym, old school rock.
Whenever you hear AC/DC, you just accidentally start stripping. Mm-hmm. She was a fast
Bon Jovi.
Is that what you?
I was
Living
all
on a Prayer?
Yeah.
Living on a Prayer?
Yeah, did Living on a Prayer. Did, oh, God, so many songs. I can't,
what kind of money was on that stripping?
Cowboy on a steel horse I ride.
Wanted, dead or alive.
Desperado I danced to, the Eagles. Money was up and down. It wasn't great. You make more money for gay men usually.
Yeah.
Some nights you make good money for the girls. If you were in a bad mood, you'd make shit. It depended on what type of mood you're in, because you had to go around and hustle to get dances. So if you're sick of them, you'd be like, you want to dance? Like, nah, I'm good. Go fuck yourself. You're a fucking asshole. Yeah. You should go fuck yourself. Brandon, take it easy. That was my stripper name. Brandon, you can't yell at them. Oh, this fucking whore.
Brandon.
I'm going upstairs to shoot some more Winstrol.
Winstrol? What's that?
Steroid. Helps with cutting. It's fantastic.
Wow. Yeah. I'm going to go shoot some Winstrol. Dude, you got a twisted life. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, it was great.
You're a stripper. Oh, my God. I think you're the first dude stripper I've ever talked to.
Yeah. Dante Nero used to do it.
Oh, yeah, he was telling me that.
Yeah, you can't tell now. He looks like he ate 4 of them. But yeah, and a pit fighter. He used to fight people in Brooklyn and the Bronx and shit.
Whoa, really?
Like for money. They'd go and he'd meet up.
Whoa, like those backyard fights?
Yeah.
Whoa.
But in alleys.
Wow. That shit's dark, right? Pit fighting.
Yeah.
Man, that is fucking... Oh, I love this city, man. Yeah. It's got some fucking insanity. Right?
Yeah. LA must have it too. There must be some real sketchy guys there.
It does. But
I've been outside the store where you're like, oh, there's a lot of weirdos here.
Well, the thing about LA is you're in your car most of the time, so you're not shoulder to shoulder with the lunacy.
Yeah.
Here, you really feel the lunacy, so it's way different. You're in it,
Yeah.
You're definitely in it. In your car, you're looking at it,
Yeah.
but you're not in it. You're driving through it. Like,
Yeah.
look at these freaks.
Yeah, here you're in the middle of it. You get thrown in it.
Yeah, man. Shit. One thing I love about you, you're a lot like me, man. You like real estate.
Yeah.
You're
our hobbies. Just looking at real estate.
in between sets where this, I'm like, whoa, look at this pad, man. Like, I love looking at real estate.
I love it. Yeah, I want a house. I think it's good to have. I mean, I guess because we're older now, we dream about that shit. And cars still. I mean, I'll look at trucks and, just stuff that you want. But I found, for me, there's no, when I was younger, you'd be like, oh, if I get a TV show, I'd grab all this money right away. For me, it's like a steady, slow and steady. Every year is better than the last, and I just keep going slow and steady. So it's good to have these dreams to keep you there, but it's never going to be like, hey, I just got 80 grand. I'm going to go drop it on a truck today. You know what I mean? It's like you're going to keep saving, and then you have this shit by the end. Or so hopefully get to enjoy it. That's what I'm starting to find, where I'm like, I'm just grinding so much. I need some time to just enjoy. And I think that my daughter will help inspire that. I think like once I have a daughter, I'm going to be like, oh, I want to stay home with my kid and be like, I don't need to run around for, $100 or whatever tonight. I'll stay home and just, but we have this poverty mentality. I don't know if you do, but I have this thing where it's like, it took so many years and I struggled for so many years and lived in shitholes that I don't want to go back to that. So that's why my work ethic is what it is.
That's
now.
the same with me. I there's no way I want to do construction. I'm 51.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? Construction or sell cars or motorcycles? I've been there and I'm like, I can't go back to that.
Yeah.
So it makes me work even, look, I fucking work 7 days a week, podcasting every fucking day, then writing jokes, auditioning, doing stand-up, anything I can do, never to go back. That's the scariest thing in the world.
Yeah. It's just, for me, it's to be poor again. That's such a, like when I lived in like Harlem and shit, and I just remember that, and I went up there like last week for another show, and I was just like, oh fuck, I can't believe I lived here. And it's just like, to move ahead constantly, and that fear is what motivates me the most. And now it's like, and my wife's not the same, where I'm like, look, we have to have, I'm not like, I don't think that we're going to be like this 1%, but I'm like, I want the best of everything for my family, like I'm sure any father does, so it's like, we're going to work hard, we're going to send our daughter to the school she has to go to and shit, but then it's also like, maybe the kid's going to fuck up if she goes that way, so maybe there's something to be said about, coming from humble roots. And it seems like most of the people that really make it in this world are the people that have the shittiest childhoods, that have to struggle the most. And it's really, I mean, I came from a good enough family where I could have gone that route, but I think it was all the choices that I made to be a degenerate that made me a better person.
Yeah, fuck. Yeah. I believe me, growing up completely poor, and I'm still poor now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? By all standards.
Well, this is a lovely place we're in, by the way. For the listeners that can't see, Dean is in a really nice place in one of the best neighborhoods in New York City right now.
But here's the thing, though. Not my place. I've never owned a house ever. I'm 51, and I've never really had that desire to own anything, but I've always wanted to have, to me, making it is like, if I could have a crushing one bedroom right around here somewhere. Yeah. I mean, that was like, you can't hear the neighbors, can't hear the subway, and there's no rats or roaches.
Yeah.
You go, okay, I've made it. Somewhere where you go, I want to live my life here. You know what I mean? To me, not having a place out in Jersey, like, look at this, I've got property now. And because like I was telling you, you get into that, I'm not going to drive into the city tonight. And then you change. You start to get these roots that it's so hard to get off the couch. You know?
That's my fear. I mean, I keep looking at these houses upstate, and I'm like, man, I just fantasize about how nice it'd be to live, but none of that fantasy involves stand-up. It just involves, like, I'll go out on the fucking rowboat and go fishing with my daughter. And, stand-up, fuck that.
Yeah, but then you're
let's
like,
stay home and have a bottle of wine.
That's where the money comes from. You always forget about the job, you know? Because I keep going like, fuck, I think I could move to New York if I just really, and then I'm like, fuck, I don't want to move here though and completely starve out in 6 months. Like, you know? I'm not 20.
The beautiful thing about New York, and I said this, I did 25 shows in a night.
Yeah, that's the record, right?
And it was all on the basis of, like, I know it'll work out because in New York, everything works out. Like, comedy-wise, everything works out. And it did. So it's like just to trust that. And it's also a city that kind of takes care of its own, There's just this magical thing here. There's something about it, but after a while you get sick of it, and you're like, ugh, what a shithole. But at first it's so. I remember when I first went, it was so romanticized when you first get here.
But I'm in that phase right now of New York. I'm just like. And that's like when I became the big fish in a small pond in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And I took the chance and moved to LA and fucking didn't, I was just like starting all over, but I felt so alive, you know, and that's how I feel now. I've been in LA 16 years and now I come to New York and I'm like, I can feel this, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a great city. I mean, it's the best place to do stand-up.
Before you go here, run people down on this, because somebody's going to go 25 in one night. How the fuck did he do that? But run people on how you did 25 spots in one night, because I've done 7 in LA, which is probably like 25 in New York. But how did you do it, and how does it work? It's because they got comedy starting at like 5 o'clock.
Yeah, the comedy starts on a Saturday. There was like a 4 o'clock show. So
were you setting out to do it?
Yeah, what happened was I had like, when I started picking up momentum, I would get maybe 8 or 9 spots on a weekend. So I remember one night doing 9, and I was like, there's all this downtime in between. And I was more bored sitting around than running around doing it. So I'm like sitting having a coffee by myself in Washington Square Park. And I'm like, there must be a way. And I'm like, I wonder how many I could do. So first I was like, Steve Byrne had the record for 13. And I'm like, I could crush 13. So I wrote down, I'm like, I think I could do 19 in a night, like with all the club connections I had, the places I worked at. And then I started talking to people, and then someone's like, you should shoot it as a doc. And I was like,
Did you do that?
Yeah, so we put it all together. I have a meeting right after this. We're going to get the final editing done at 7. So
that's sick. I can't wait to see that.
So it's close. And then I went and I charted it out. And then the week we were supposed to do it, some girl guitar act was like, hey, I did 16 sets in a night. I broke the record. And we're like, it was just weird timing. And then we looked into it and saw she didn't really break the record because it was all like open mics. And then she had done 3 shows, quote unquote, on subway platforms where she's just playing her guitar. And we're like, those aren't shows. So we negated that. But I was like, just in case, let's go more. So I scheduled 26. And
are you in a car to do it, or subway, or foot?
I had a car. We had 2 cars for the crew and for me. We drove around, so we were on schedule. And then the windshield wipers gave out, and it was pouring rain. So I had to run on foot for a few of them. And I had 26 scheduled, and I got 25 done. And while you're doing it, you're like, hey, most of these are going pretty well. But then you look back, you watch it, and you're like, ooh, that was a bomb. That was so, most of them.
Now you're getting into also, like I say, even when you do 3 a night, you're like, did I do this material already?
Yeah.
You get all fucking loony. So I can't even imagine getting past 10.
Yeah. It didn't become a problem until after 20, because a lot of it was crowd work and a lot of it was just elevated thought. There was one joke that I did throughout the night, but the rest was just like, all right, let's just go. But by the end, your brain is so dead. It was like, you have shorts on. Shorts. You have a shirt. Like, it was that kind of like trying to find comedy in that. So it kind of started to tinkle out. And then the last set was horrible. It was at LOL in Times Square. But it did it, and it was 25. And then, started at 4 at the Creek and Cave and did a show there.
And how long were the sets?
The longest was 17 minutes. The shortest was 3.5 minutes.
Okay.
So it varied all in between. There were some places where they would run late. some guys were so selfish. I remember being like, "Hey, can I do this?" And he's like, "Nah, you got to go after." And I'm like, "Hey, he has nowhere to go. Can I go?" So it really shows people's true colors when you're trying to break this world record. And the guy's like, "Well, I don't want to have to follow you." And I'm like, "Come on, like just take one on the chin."
Stupid.
So, but it was such a great. I couldn't do it now. I don't think. I think I'd get way too tired, and it was only 2 years ago. But back then, I feel like I wasn't married. I had extra energy back then.
Yeah. Wow, man, I can't wait to see that. And what, you going to put it out? How long is the documentary?
We're going to try and sell it. It's an hour 10, around an hour 10. So
fuck,
we're
that's
try
cool,
and
man.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Do you want to have a name yet? No.
25?
I kind of like Comedy Iron Man. I think that's a cool title, but then it sounds weird. Maybe Iron Man's I don't know. They got to find a title for it. Maybe The Grind.
How about
like
25 and not Adele's record?
Yeah, 25.
You can get Adele's name in there. It'll come up in Google searches.
Yeah, I'll see if I can get banned on iTunes again.
I can't thank you enough for just being cool, man, over the last couple of years.
Always, man.
And
I think you're hilarious and such a pleasure to be around.
Thank you so much, and thank you for doing the podcast. I'm looking forward. I know this record's eventually going to get on iTunes, so give everybody the name of it one more time.
It's Mr. Manners Live from Long Island City. It's on Amazon and Google Play right now. Mr. Manners Live from Long Island City.
Aaron Berg. And your Twitter and Instagram?
Twitter is at Aaron Berg Comedy. Instagram is the same thing, at Aaron Berg Comedy. And all my dates and stuff are on aaronberg.com. And
an early congrats on your... You and your lady are about to become parents. That's super cool.
Thanks, man.
And congrats on that documentary. I'm looking forward to seeing that, man.
Thanks, Dean.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Let There Be Talk. Make sure you check out Aaron if you are on the East Coast. He's at the Stand pretty much every night, an incredible club. And check out his other records and his other books. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Candles lit.